I the a-hole for leaving my stepsister's wedding reception where I was supposed to be taking pictures? Reddit says you're not, but doesn't sound good from the jump. I'm a professional photographer, mostly industrial photography for businesses and such. I do other types for myself and as art. I love taking pictures of old architecture in my city and the surprising wildlife in it. My mom asked if I would be willing to take pictures for my stepsister's wedding to help them save money. She asked me to do it as a gift. Who saw last week's video? She knows that Tina hates me and I pretty much reciprocate. Okay, Mom. I decided to be the bigger person and agreed. Why? Oh yeah, because that's a brilliant decision. Let's have a wedding photographer and a bride who hate each other work together the entire day. What could go wrong? I was there for makeup and the wedding party getting dressed. I took a ton of pictures at the wedding. I prepared a checklist of all the different formals she wanted and made sure I got them all. I did my absolute best. Don't really like each other, but we're trying. We're digging down deep. We're becoming the best version of ourselves. So far. When I got to the reception, there was no place for me to sit. I had gotten there right away so I could get pictures of the wedding party arriving and all that. The wedding party had stopped to use the bathroom and get freshened up. I called my mom to find out where I was meant to sit and eat and stuff. She talked to Tina and called me back. She was upset and I could tell. She said that Tina thought since I was working and not a guest, she didn't have to have a seat and food for me. I thanked my mom for the information and left. I took my boyfriend, who was my assistant that day, and we went out for dinner, my treat. We'd been on the go for 8 hours by then. I turned off my phone. We had a nice night out, and we saw the new Mad Max movie. Because that's how you respond. Sunday morning, I turned on my phone. It was full of messages asking where I went, then demanding I come take pictures, then cursing me out. I'm assuming this was Tina, not Mom. But what do I know? I called my mom to see what was up. She said that Tina was very upset that I left and that all her reception pictures were going to be from cell phone cameras. She said I should have just gone to get a quick bite at McDonald's and then come back. I told her that I felt terrible and would of course give a full refund. I said that this was the last straw and I did not want to hear stuff when I did not invite Tina to my wedding next year. Tina obviously thinks I'm an a-hole, and my mom thinks I should have kept the peace. I'm just going to drop off a thumb drive with all the pictures and wash my hands of this. No editing, no nothing. There's so many elements of this that are horrible. Horrible. Last week I did a video on frienders, okay? And that's friends who step in to perform the tasks of vendors, usually people who are professionals, but maybe not in the wedding field. This is a classic example of that. It's a great example. It's a horrible example, but it's a great, you know what I'm saying? And now OP is taking to Reddit and saying like, am I the a-hole here? Like, am I in the wrong? Was this horrible of me? And I might have a controversial take, okay? Okay. First and foremost, vendor meals. This should not be controversial, but it is. Every time I bring it up on the internet, there are plenty of people who say, I don't understand. There are millions of people who go to work and bring a meal with them, take a lunch break, eat their meal, and then get back to work. Why do we have to pay for a vendor's meal, especially when it's, $35, $45, $55, $100 a plate, when they could just go grab something or bring something with them if they know they have to work through their lunch? Now, the intent of this video is not to debate labor laws, okay? Because you can in the comments, go ahead, go off, tell the algorithm something spicy's happening down there. That's okay with me. What I'm here to talk about is the fact that vendor meals are expected and oftentimes are written into contracts if you are dealing with a professional vendor. I'll walk you through what this looks like. Now, a lot of times, I won't say every time, but a lot of times when a photographer is sitting down to eat a meal, at least me as the wedding planner, I will try to make sure that the couple and the photography and videography teams are eating at the same time. Nobody wants pictures of them eating food. If you do, that's a little strange. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to withhold my opinion on it. That's weird. Okay. None of your guests want pictures of themselves eating, but what happens relatively frequently is that someone will kick off toasts or speeches or whatever you want to call them without notifying the photography and videography team. And they're just sitting back there still eating and they have to rush it back into the reception space to start taking photos and videos of that moment happening. It could be the DJ not communicating. It could be a wedding planner kicking it off or a venue coordinator or someone goes, hey, let's get this going without notifying the crew that's actually documenting it. If they're off site, that's gone. That's not happening. There is no documenting this time. A lot of times we have venues that are a little bit rural or a little bit remote, or there's really no options around them other than maybe some sort of convenience store. Then the argument to that is, well, why don't you just bring it in a lunchbox? And again, we're really getting into the details of this. You can, yes. You could say, hey, wedding photographer, I'm not paying for your meal. You're expected to bring your own. That would be the exception, not the norm. We're not arguing whether it's possible or not for a wedding photographer to bring a meal to someone's wedding day. I've seen one wedding photography duo do this in my 10 years of doing this because they had very specific dietary restrictions and they could not trust anything that they would eat from anybody else. So they had to bring their own food. Other than that, every other photography team I have worked with has eaten a meal through the catering at the wedding. Now, of course, in this situation, we're not dealing with a professional wedding photographer, okay? So let's remove that from the table. Maybe no one had the discussion of, hey, you need to feed your vendors because it's in the contract. There's probably no contract here. Understandable. Maybe it was a miscommunication. That's all fine and dandy until you recognize that it's your stepsister who you are not feeding because she is working instead. The other issue would be seating. I mentioned this in last week's video. I prefer to not sit in the main reception space. Please give me a space where I can go off to and eat by myself because I feel like I'm on. When I'm in the reception space, when I'm around guests, when I'm around the couple, when I'm around, the general event itself, I am on. I am working. If I'm going to go sit and eat, I'm going to be scarfing it in between different things that are happening in the reception and running back and forth. I don't want people witnessing that. You don't want to see that, okay? So give me 30 seconds to go kick up my feet, scarf down some chicken, and then I'll get right back to you. So maybe we can understand not having a seat in the reception space for just vendors. But again, we're dealing with a stepsister here who we're not feeding and we're not seating anywhere. Here's where personally I feel like things take a little bit of a turn for me, okay? And that is where OP decides to go, you know what? I'm gonna go grab some dinner, okay? We've been at this for, a full business day already. We're gonna go eat something and then go see a movie afterwards and turn my phone off. That's where you lose me. That's where I go, I feel like you could have walked up to your mom and said, hey, I'm not having this. Really frustrated. We're gonna go eat. I'm going to go cool off. There will be no photos for the next hour. And maybe I'll come back afterwards if I feel calm enough to do so. If it were me, I would have come back. If it were me, I would have come back and finished off the day because it's something I committed to. It's something I said yes to. And no one had a meal discussion. So I would chalk it up to a miscommunication. That's if it was me though, okay? Also, please bear in mind that I am a people pleaser. So this is going to be my natural bent. I'm an Enneagram 3. So when I'm responding to things like this, it's going to be in accordance to my personality. What would you do in this scenario? Would you go get food and come back? Would you go get food, turn off your phone, and then bounce to a movie and not communicate till the next day? I would never. Personally. That doesn't feel like the appropriate response, in my opinion. And honestly, I think I probably would have gone as far to say, hey, boyfriend, here's my card. Do me a favor, go buy us some dinner, okay? And we're gonna go eat in a back room, and I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna think about this. And then I'm gonna do photos through the perfunctory things like speeches and first dances, and then I'm gonna bounce. Because you don't need a bunch of dancing photos, okay? And at that point, I have done my duty. I've done what I've signed up to do. I've done what I've agreed to do. And even though I'm offended and the bride did not handle this appropriately, at least I can say I did not meet petty with petty in this situation. That's me. That's my opinion, though. Usually Reddit tends to disagree with me. I do see where OP is coming from, and I agree. I think just dropping off a thumb drive would be best at this point, because then the bride can choose to go get it edited if she wants to. She can do whatever she wants with all of that footage. But also, if you're a photographer watching this, you know that that OP probably took thousands of photos that need to be culled. So she's also not doing that. She's not going through and getting rid of all of the awkward photos that literally nobody would ever want. It could be photo after photo after photo where this photographer, where OP is trying to get the right moment, the right face, the right lighting. In case somebody blinks in a group photo, she's doing her best to make sure she's capturing as much as possible. And then just giving all of that to the bride. No culling, diabolical. No editing, sure. No culling. Listen, I actually might agree with her on that one, because at that point, like, hey, I'm done entirely. You can wade through this and select your favorite. If you think for one second that you have decision fatigue, it's nothing compared to an unculled library. But let's see what Reddit has to say. And how they all disagree with me. I'm calling it right now. Not the a-hole. My girlfriend does wedding photos. I'm often along as her helper. Even when we aren't related to the bride and groom, we always get fed. See, it's the standard. You can hate it, but it's still the standard. We are usually at a back table away from everyone, which is fine since we have a big bag of stuff to keep away from kids. Oh, yeah. There's like a zone that photo and video will just like take over and plug in all their extra batteries. And usually if they can, it'll be behind something so a child doesn't see like a little blinking light while the batteries are charging. Your sister is definitely the a-hole. She played a dumb game and got the price she deserved. Your mom is a little as well. I know how much my girlfriend charges for a wedding. You gave a very expensive gift to someone you do not like. I did enjoy that you offered a full refund. Because they didn't pay anything. I don't think the mom is the a-hole at all in this scenario. Also, there needs to be a little bit of ownership on OP's part. She committed to this. She said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm a big fan of let your yes be yes and let your no be no. If you change your mind, that's okay. I'm not saying you can't change your mind, but there needs to be a little bit of ownership. You clearly said, OP, that you hated this person and chose to photograph her wedding. I'm just here to tell you, don't pick vendors you don't like. All right? Because the photography, videography, wedding coordination, they're all going to be lovingly in your face on your wedding day. Your DJ is going to be on a microphone for a majority of your wedding day. If you don't like their personalities, it can and likely will affect your wedding day. If your DJ is too loud or obnoxious, if your wedding photographer is snippy, if your coordinator has a high-pitched, whiny voice that just kind of really irritates you, it's going to affect you on your wedding day. So I don't think mom needs to own this at all because OP could have said no. OP had full permission to say no. If OP felt guilted into it, I can understand. If there were some elements of that where mom was really pushing, then mom's got to own her part on that. Yes. But OP still said yes. Controversial? I don't know. Tell me. Reply. Yes, exactly. There should always be food for the photographer and assistants. They aren't slaves who work a full, grueling day to only watch others eat without complaint. Not the a-hole. Yeah, but I mean, I know we could bring a sandwich, okay? I know. No one's expecting them to work a full grueling day without being able to eat at all whatsoever. This is why contracts are important. This is why working with someone who does this for a living is important, because then they would have a contract that says, hey, we need to be fed. Okay. Now, are we starting to see the importance of contracts, ladies and gentlemen? I am such a contract fiend because of situations like this. Not the a-hole. OP, you should have gone completely North Carolina with Tina a long time ago if you don't have any type of relationship with her. I can't. I just, every time I see it, I relive how dumb I am. Considering that Tina didn't even consider her own sister a guest and treated you like a temp employee, you had every right to walk out of this wedding. From here on, do not include Tina in your life ever again. Okay. You could have gone no contact. You chose not to. You chose to photograph her wedding. If you were tempted to go no contact, you should have done that. You should have just said no. You know, like as a stepping stone, relationally, hey, no, I'm not going to do that because that means I have to be really close and probably be able to smell your breath at least 7 times during the day. I just don't want to do that because we don't have that kind of relationship, okay? We don't. So if the option or even the idea of going no contact is on the table for the relationship, do not engage in professional services for someone's wedding day. I'm getting everyone sucks here vibes, but you know, not the a-hole. I used to do wedding catering and have never ever heard of a photographer not getting a seat somewhere or not being fed. It's rude and a slimy thing to do when someone is working for you for an entire evening without eating and nowhere to sit. Nope, I say not the a-hole. Again, was there a contract that established this as a precedent? Or do we have 2 parties assuming things? You gotta feed the vendors. Not just feed, but make sure they have a place to rest and a safe place for their stuff and drinks. All that. Although no drink you ever set down is safe. And I don't just mean that in like a someone could put something in your drink kind of way. I mean that as in if you abandon a drink and a server walks by, they're gonna pick it up. That's what I mean. Not the a-hole. I love the full refund retort. Same. This person said gold. But even more so on the nose, paid wedding photographers get fed. OP did this as a wedding gift, as in no pay. Wedding gifts are given by guests. If OP wasn't a guest, then isn't obligated to give any sort of gift. Now I'm imagining a bunch of people showing up at the reception, walking past the table that the gifts are to be left on, and then being turned away by security by not being on the guest list. That's what stepsister was trying to do. What? Following that analogy was like following a bouncing ball in an old school sing-along. What? I find myself giving a lot of grace to the bride in this scenario because we just don't know, right? We haven't heard both sides of the story. There's enough gray area there for it to be questionable. And if she's got no one there guiding her or no one to watch on the internet that tells her these kinds of things, you should go down there and subscribe right now, okay? Because I'm literally your online planner. I'm here to help you figure this out. She might not know. Does she look like an a-hole? Sure does. Sure does. Was she trying to be? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe she just didn't know. Okay. More comments. Not the a-hole. You're doing an epic favor that you'd normally get paid well to do. You're doing this for someone who doesn't like you. And you don't like either. Okay? That needs to be added in. Then you find out that they intentionally snubbed you. Even if the photographer didn't have seating/food, the stepsister should have that. It was intentional. You left after being snubbed. Sure, maybe. I would have done the same thing. If they scream, then you could just say, what's it say in the contract? Assuming there isn't one. And that should end it. Yeah, but then you look like a punk too because, oh, you didn't have a contract with me? Then I can do whatever I want. Not the a-hole your mother is delusional, as a wedding gift means you are also a guest or at least get treated with a meal and drinks. Since Tina thought you were working, you should send her an invoice if she wants any pictures. This is not how this stuff works. Okay. Sometimes Reddit be doing things to me emotionally, okay? I think your response was exactly right. From leaving the reception to having a nice night out with hubby and telling her you'll provide a refund. Hilarious and perfect. She's lucky she's getting the thumb drive. Maybe add one more last picture to it of you and hubby smiling and waving. Seriously, the refund bit was so sly and so savage. Not the a-hole. Delete the pictures. She didn't pay you. She hates you. You have zero relationship and owe her nothing. Even better, put a watermark on them so she has to pay OP for the prints. If your relationship is so tumultuous that a singular missing meal, could send you into such an emotional state. Yes, it's someone's wedding day. Yes, when you've been working for literally hours. But if you're in such an emotional state in this relationship, that not having that meal sends you into this sort of emotional response, whether you believe it's warranted or not, where you leave, you go get dinner, and then you're gone for the rest of the night. You do not come back. You give no information, nothing at all whatsoever, nothing to your mom, and of course, naturally, nothing to Tina. If your relationship is so tenuous that the meal being there or not being there, and yes, it is a respect thing, please don't mishear me on this, but if that amount of disrespect of not being served a meal at something like this would be enough to make you want to leave the entire festivity and not be present at all for the rest of it, especially when you led this entire thing by saying, I don't like her either. I kind of hate her too. That you should not have entered into this working relationship. You shouldn't have. Did you deserve what you received from your stepsister? No. Was it disrespectful? In my opinion, yes. And no matter how much grace I try to give the bride in this scenario, she done messed up because, yeah, a lot of these comments are right. At the end of the day, stepsister should still be fed. That's ridiculous. I don't even understand why we're entertaining this conversation or why stepsister thought that that would be a viable excuse. You're working, so, no food for you. I don't understand. I think she was going out of her way to be a little bit petty. Where, again, when I was talking through this, I was trying to give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But if I was going based off of my emotional intuition, I would think that, yeah, bride might have known what she was doing. She might not have, but it would make sense to feed your stepsister at your wedding. Especially as a thank you for working this. Here, let's at least provide you a meal. But I don't think, and maybe I'm alone in this situation, I don't think that warranted OP's response. I have to say it's pretty ballsy for a bride to hire a person who hates her for her wedding pics. Oops, no film on the camera, or let's just capture her picking her teeth. OP, not the a-hole. Yeah, I was planning on editing those out, definitely including them now. Yeah, see what I said about the calling earlier being the most diabolical part of not doing that, of like, yeah, she got all the perfunctory stuff in the beginning. She might have missed a couple things in the reception, but a bulk of the event was done. They might not have cake cutting or the dances or speeches. The speech photos, in my opinion, are fine. Right? You want to capture some laughing, some smiling, maybe some crying, but a lot of the photography heavy moments have already come to pass. The fact that we're delivering an entire gallery with no removing of goofy photos whatsoever is, she wants photos. That might be the level of petty that I could get on board with. Maybe, okay, well, you didn't feed me. So I'm not going to spend hours going through this. I captured the event like I told you I would. You can go ahead and take these. Not the a-hole. As a vendor, your contract would have included dinner for you and your assistant. You didn't have one. That's on you. Sorry. Tina doesn't get both free photos and a license to be a bee. That's fair. She didn't think it through. She knew very well she was providing dinner for her vendors. Maybe. And what's wrong with your mom that she's more upset you left the wedding than that Tina expected you to work all day without sustenance. She doesn't need those pictures, and I'd think twice about inviting your mom to your wedding. Okay. Or maybe mom's in the middle of a high-tension day with her little punk of a stepdaughter who's causing chaos and being obnoxious, and she's coming to you going, hey, middle person here. Kind of sucks. Yeah, she doesn't have anything for you. Mom was already clearly upset. Whatever. Okay, I would defend mom in this scenario. Does mom have unhealthy traits she needs to work on? Yup. Does that make her an a-hole here? I don't know. I don't think so. Wedding photographer here. Okay, I'm going to read this and then we'll close. Okay? Hi, wedding photographer here. Not the a-hole. I legit have a clause in my contract with brides. Contract. This person is a professional. They have a contract. Sorry, I'll shut up now. Just kidding, I won't shut up. I'm just going to read the next part. I am seated in the venue. I eat when the bridal party eats. If I don't, they can expect me to leave for an hour and a half to 2 hours to get something to eat and then come back. I have yet to have any bride refuse the request, and I'm always seated in the venue. Your stepsister is a huge a-hole. I will not shoot for siblings or close family. This is important. I made this statement last week as well. Last week's video felt like such an important one for me to make. Like, I have had issues with family members or friends not understanding the full gift of what I'm giving them, or, discounted couples. Sorry, I've had issues with that as well. So I've had to draw boundaries for where I know I can let my yes be yes and let my no be no, and be comfortable with that. I will do nieces and nephews. Okay, so just not siblings and close family, but always a contract. Honestly, I started this rule I have an overbearing younger sister who thinks she's entitled to photos for free. And just for giggles, make sure you give the unedited JPEG images and not the raw files. I would even say make a Photoshop action button to downgrade the quality to where nothing bigger than a 4x6 can be printed. Oh, that takes it too far. The JPEG though. I actually think she should give good quality photos so the bride can lament what was missed. If the pics are crappy, then she may just think OP is a crappy photographer. She didn't miss much since all the photos would have been bad. Y'all, I feel like this feels like a very basic life lesson. But if you don't like someone, don't work with them on their wedding day. Because that's usually where emotions come out really bad. Okay? I see this as a situation where everyone could take ownership for something. I don't know if it's an everyone sucks here vibe, but like, I wouldn't have just left and gone to see a movie and not come back, because that just means the relationship was so volatile that it was just that was the final straw that broke the camel's back in this scenario, which OP is fully entitled to say, you know what, I've had enough. But we knew that a wedding day was going to be a lot, right? Did we know that? Did we not know that this was going to be intense and a lot? You're the one that showed up. You'd already done 8 hours worth of shooting before dinner had even started. I don't know many photographers that do that. You had already overextended yourself for someone you don't even care for way more than a regular photographer would. Sometimes we'll see photographers who do all day photography, but even then it's like, gosh, how many hours before the reception do they show up? Wait, she said she just got to the reception, so presumably it could have been before cocktail hour. I don't know. Regardless, the photographer got there way too early. She did not set boundaries. She did not communicate well, because this is not what she does for a living. The bride, also being a petty Betty, did not feed her, which is ridiculous. And also, if you had gone to the caterer, I'm sure they could have scrounged up a couple of plates for you. It's really not that big of a deal. I think it was more the respect situation and feeling affronted in this situation, which of course OP does have the right to feel frustrated and feel disrespected. That's true. Does the response match the level of disrespect, especially when she entered into this knowing she was photographing a wedding of someone she doesn't even like? That's what we have for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. Let me know your thoughts. As always, I love a solid discourse in the comments below. You're not gonna hurt my feelings by disagreeing with me, okay? It's fine. Get on down there. Just word vomit. Let me know your thoughts. The best title I have is Everyone Sucks Here, and definitely a trip to North Carolina, maybe a permanent move. North Carolina would be a good idea for all of you, okay? And maybe like a good deep-hearted chat with you and your momsies. Just food for thought moving forward. Okay, if you liked the video, jump on down there and like the video and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. And until next week, bye guys!